Newsy news. Good morning, everybody. My name is Onepeg, and in today's video, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of recoil changes. There were some other changes with ammunition and availability and recoil modifications to specific pieces of ammunition. They're changing so much so fast that it probably doesn't do much good to talk about most of that until, well, the basic changes that we have here for some of the guns that I'm going to list for you, because I think that a lot of the changes that we have dialed in at this point are around where they're going to stay. A couple of them are drastic enough to where it actually matters, and I'm going to show you some video of what that looks like, courtesy of my man Saint, who was kind enough to edit down some testing that we did from the VOD today. As always, if you would be kind enough to come by and check out the stream, I'm usually live around when these videos go up. I'm not live at the moment, but tomorrow morning I will be. And for those of you interested in Dark and Darker, just as a side point, on February 1st at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be live with Terry, the head of Iron Mace Games, just like I have been each month or month and a half or so before each one of these playtests, about a week ahead of time. We end up having a conversation about what to expect and, you know, little teasers and leaks, get everybody nice and hyped up. But for a change, we're going to be doing this one live, though. So come by the stream and hang out if you feel like it. All of the changes that I'm going to go through are courtesy of my man Logical Solutions over at Tarkov-changes.com. So make sure that you give him some love. He's a full-time streamer now. Go by and, you know, say hi to him. He deserves it. Okay, so first up with this, we have the FN Scar L. That hasn't really done a whole heck of a lot. They actually nerfed this by a little bit. The Scar still ends up looking and feeling just like a laser. Conversely, the Scar H ended up getting buffed almost across the board. The 103 had its recoil dispersion lowered, and I guess what I can do is just give you a real basic run through on how recoil dispersion works. So we have a center point of aim, nothing crazy, right? Little dot in the middle. This is where you're aiming on your reticle. When you fire, recoil dispersion says go out from center away at whatever angle that is randomly selected between vertical up and down and left and right. It picks a vector. The lower the recoil dispersion amount, the less it moves away from that center point. The higher it is, the further away it goes. So because the recoil may end up kind of kicking around a little bit, but if it only moves a little, you're still staying on target. So obviously lower recoil dispersion numbers are better. In this case, this means that the 103, when it recoils, is going to be deviating from center just a little bit less. The HKG-36 had a round of recoil buffs given to it and then was also given an ergonomic increase of 12 points. This means that with a 60-round mag in either one of the meta recoil builds for the G36, you're not at an ergonomics of 0, although you are at single-digit numbers. The long barrel G36 with the bipod attached to it is still going to be better overall than the alternative, which would be like a 4-vent with an RK2 grip on it that actually has worse ergonomics for the same recoil. So if you're looking for a complete meta recoil build with good ergo or better ergo, you want to go with the long barrel variant. Although my personal favorite is the really, really short boy because it's only 3 recoil worse and has some decent ergo associated with it and is still super mobile because it's a lot less heavy. Oh yeah, the crouch shots, sure. You're like me, man. I always crouch when I go to shoot at people. See, like, that ain't bad. That's usable. Okay, the MCX had its recoil barely improved, horizontal way more than vertical, but the recoil dispersion on this was also adjusted by a point, so this, again, is usable, but I didn't test it in the hideout. The Scar H had its recoil drastically improved by 20 points on the vertical and 35 points on horizontal, so that should feel a whole lot better than it used to, and the Scar H was already pretty nasty as it is. This actually might allow you to do some full auto work with it for a change. And then the big one here is the Steyr AUG. The AUG has a problem, and that is lateral horizontal recoil. The horizontal recoil for the AUG is awful. It dances back and forth like nobody's business. It still dances, but it's better than it was. If I was going to choose, though, between using an AUG and, say, like a G36 or a SCAR, I would go with everything other than the AUG. The AUG is too expensive for the recoil that it has, and it doesn't maintain any level of control compared to other 5.56 chassis that are, quite frankly, just less expensive to build. Yeah, it's kind of all over the place when you do it that way too. Crouch is not as bad, but the real big takeaways here, though, are the 9x21 SR2M and the Vityaz 9x19. And for honorable mention, we also have the UMP. Yeah. Yeah. The UMP was beat. It's had 2 rounds of recoil nerfs now to make it a lot jumpier than it used to be. It's no longer the laser that it was. And compared to something like the 9x21 or the 9x19, the PP19 and the SR2 are both absolute lasers. They do not move. The 9x21 using PS rounds is probably the most devastating SMG that we have given its rate of fire. And the fact that 9x21 PS is something that you can purchase from Prapper and has 35 penetration and like 46% armor damage for that pen value. So 5 rounds on target is going to shred just about anything. The 9x19 Vityaz was already kind of a laser, but it got another round of recoil and dispersion buffs to make it even more of a laser, so now it just doesn't move. It's like a slower firing Vector 9mm, and it just stays on target. The thing just, it just sticks there, like it's Velcro, glued to whatever it is that you aim it at. And last but certainly not least, and I'm just going to remove my face, we have the AKS-74U, UN, and UB. All of them had their recoil and dispersion statistics heavily modified to where not only is the U usable, but a meta U looks really, really good in the range. Really good. Another laser beam. They actually made the U good as long as you dump a few 100,000 rubles worth of parts into it anyway. Meta built 74U, like minimal recoil 74U. Oh. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this one. Thank you so much for coming by. If you would be so kind as to follow me on my socials, at OnePegMG on Twitter, at OnePeg on TikTok. I stream every day at 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until whenever at twitch.tv/OnePeg. And as always, if you would be kind enough to sub the channel here, we are very, like, so ridiculously close to 100,000. It's not even funny. Thank you, everybody, for lending me your eyeballs once again. And I will see you in the next one, okay? Peace.